Jax Mercer had always been clumsy with his words. Not in real life, he could hold a decent conversation, but when it came to digital messages, especially through the neural comlink that everyone in Neo Atlanta used, he was a disaster. His thumbs, though capable, never quite cooperated with the smart interface that predicted words and emotions. Today, however, would be worse than usual. It all started in the morning, as Jax sat in his small, neon-lit apartment overlooking the bustling city. The skyline shimmered with anti-grav vehicles darting between towering glass spires, and holographic advertisements flickered across the streets below. Jax's mind, however, was far from the vibrant city. He was thinking about Alara, a colleague from the orbital labs, who had just laughed at a joke he made in their morning briefing. He smiled, recalling the warmth in her voice, and opened his neural pad to send a quick message. "Hey, you free tonight? Maybe we could grab a drink?" Jax's fingers hovered above the virtual keyboard, double-checking the recipient. Neural pads were precise. One wrong tap and messages could go to anyone in your contact list. But Jax was confident. He tapped send and leaned back, feeling a small rush of excitement. That's when it happened. "Transmission delivered," the pad said, but not in the usual calm tone. It almost hummed, a subtle vibration that made his chest tighten. He frowned and glanced at the recipient's name, Seraphine Kale. Jax froze. The name wasn't Alara. Seraphine Kale, CEO of Celestia Works, was not just his boss, she was one of the most influential people in Neo Atlanta. Brilliant, commanding, and notoriously intimidating, she had a reputation for making employees both respect and fear her. And now, she had received a message that was, well, flirty. No, 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 Jax muttered, pacing back and forth in his tiny apartment. His heart pounded like a drum in a festival. He tried to pull back the message, but neural transmissions didn't work that way. Once it left the sender's pad, it was gone into the vast cloud network of the city. Jax pressed a button to check the message delivery status again. Received at 8 hours 12 minutes and 47 seconds, it confirmed. His stomach dropped. She has read it. He imagined Seraphine's sharp eyes scanning the words, her mind analyzing every detail of the tone and context. He tried to reason with himself. She probably wouldn't take it seriously. She had more important things to do, like managing orbital projects worth billions of credits. Surely she wouldn't. Then, a reply popped up. "I'm heading to your place right now." Jax's entire body froze. The pad practically slipped from his hands. He stared at the words, rereading them over and over. It didn't make sense. Heading to my place? Why would she? Was she joking, or was he about to be fired? He ran to the window and looked at the streets below. Hovercars zipped past like glowing insects, unaware of the drama unfolding in his small apartment. His apartment was a small unit in a high-rise, hardly more than a bed, a work desk, and a kitchen corner, not exactly suitable for a CEO to drop by unannounced. And yet, the message was clear. Panic rising, Jax tried to think rationally. Seraphine Kale was not known for casual visits. She was precise, formal, and completely in control of any situation. Why would she come here? He tried to imagine every possible scenario, from disciplinary action to a formal warning, but all of them made him feel smaller, more foolish. He ran to his wardrobe, rifling through clothes. Should he look casual? Professional? He settled on a simple shirt and jeans, hoping to look approachable, but not desperate. He checked his reflection in the mirror, trying to calm himself. "Okay, Jax," he muttered. "You've handled worse. You can handle this." But deep down, he doubted it. The minutes passed slowly. Every sound from the street below made him jump. A hovercar's engine roared, and he almost yelped. His neural pad vibrated again. Another message? Maybe a clarification? He lunged for it. ETA 5 minutes. Jax's blood ran cold. 5 minutes? That meant she was practically on her way. He had no time to prepare. No time to explain. No time to anything. He sank onto his small couch, trying to steady his breathing. He had never been so aware of the passing seconds in his life. He ran through conversations in his head. What if she arrived and saw the message? What if she misinterpreted it completely? He imagined her stern expression, her eyes narrowing as she scrutinized him, and yet, strangely, there was a tiny spark of curiosity. She wasn't angry. At least, the tone wasn't angry. Could she actually be intrigued? The sound of anti-grav engines grew louder outside. Jax's apartment shook slightly as a hover vehicle hovered in the building's docking zone. He peeked through the window, heart hammering, and then he saw her. Seraphine Kale, standing beside a sleek black speeder. She didn't look mad. She looked precise, confident, unstoppable. Jax felt a strange mix of fear and awe. This was the CEO who managed orbital drones and citywide AI networks. Coming to his apartment, he swallowed hard, trying to appear calm. He opened the door as the building's internal elevator system whirred. Seraphine stepped in, her presence filling the small space. Her sharp eyes scanned the apartment with a quick, professional gaze, taking in every detail. Jax felt small, but there was something in her look that wasn't purely judgmental. It was curiosity. "Jax," she said, her voice calm, almost amused. "I received your message." Jax's mouth opened and closed. He tried to speak, but found nothing came out. Finally, he managed a whisper. I meant to send it to someone else." Her lips curved slightly into a hint of a smile. "I see," she said. "Well, accidents happen." She stepped further into the apartment, her eyes now curious, scanning the gadgets on his desk, the sketches pinned to his wall, and the half-finished AI models sitting in a corner. Jax realized that her presence wasn't threatening, it was observational. She was examining him. Yes, but not for punishment. She was studying him, analyzing his work, and perhaps, even more subtly, his mind. "You're working on the drone AI upgrade, right?" she asked suddenly, pointing at one of his sketches. Jax's heart skipped a beat. She had gone from personal message to professional evaluation in a second. "Yes, I've been trying to improve their predictive algorithms," Jax said, finding his voice. "I think I found a way to reduce the lag in autonomous navigation by almost 30%. Seraphine's eyes lit up not with anger, but interest. "That's impressive. You should show me the simulation." Jax's panic slowly shifted into cautious excitement. Perhaps this wasn't a disaster. Perhaps this was an opportunity. He could demonstrate his work, impress her, and maybe, just maybe, turn this accidental message into something valuable. As he led her to his workstation, Jax felt the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. He still couldn't believe what had happened, but he realized one thing. Sometimes, accidents open doors that careful planning never could. And as the holographic screens flickered to life, displaying the intricate patterns of code and simulation, Jax knew that the next few hours would change everything, not just for his career, but for his understanding of human ingenuity, creativity, and the unexpected ways it could shine sometimes even through a mistake. Jax Mercer could hardly believe what was happening. Just an hour ago, he had been panicking over a misdirected message, imagining every possible way it could ruin his life. Now, Seraphine Kale, the CEO of Celestia Works, was standing in his small apartment, fully engaged with his work. The air between them was tense but not uncomfortable. It was electric with curiosity and possibility. Seraphine leaned slightly over his workstation, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic simulations that floated above his desk. Lines of code twisted and shimmered in neon colors, showing complex algorithms controlling the orbital drones the company had been deploying around Neo-Atlanta for defense and surveillance. "These predictive patterns," she said, pointing at a cluster of data points. "They're very efficient, but they lack adaptability for sudden anomalies. You've reduced the lag, yes. But these drones might fail if the satellites shift unexpectedly." Jax swallowed. I think I have a solution for that. If we implement dynamic recalibration, adjusting drone paths in real time based on satellite telemetry, they could respond almost instantly. The system would learn patterns rather than follow fixed rules. Seraphine's brow arched. Interesting. Show me. For the next several minutes, Jax guided her through the simulation. He highlighted sections of code, explained his logic, and demonstrated how his algorithms allowed the drones to adapt to changing conditions. Seraphine listened intently, occasionally nodding, occasionally asking pointed questions that made him think harder. It was strange for Jax to see her this way, not as a distant, intimidating boss, but as a partner in problem-solving. He had always admired her from afar, imagining her as someone untouchable, a person whose intellect and authority made her almost mythical. But here, in his tiny apartment, she was focused entirely on the work. And Jax realized he could match her, at least in this domain. This is good, she said finally, leaning back. Much better than what the team has been developing in the main lab. You've approached the problem creatively. Jax blinked. You really think so? Seraphine gave a small, almost imperceptible smile. I don't give praise lightly, but yes, you have potential. The words hit Jax in a way he hadn't expected. Potential. Recognition from someone like Seraphine Kale was worth more than months of ordinary promotions or compliments. He felt a surge of pride, mixed with lingering embarrassment over the message that had started this chain of events. Somehow, a flirty mistake had led to professional validation. She leaned closer to the holographic display, her fingers brushing lightly over the interface, rearranging some of the data streams. If we implement this recalibration across all active drones, we could increase efficiency by at least 30%. She said, but there's a risk. Some of the older satellites might misalign and confuse the recalibration system. Jax nodded, thinking quickly. We can add a verification layer, cross-checking telemetry with redundant sensors. It will reduce errors and make the drones nearly foolproof. Seraphine's eyes sparkled with interest. I like that approach. Let's implement it. Right here. Right now. Jax's heart raced. Working directly with the CEO was surreal, yet exhilarating. He pulled up the necessary scripts and started integrating the verification layer, while Seraphine guided him through modifications to the drone control parameters. Their collaboration was fast, precise, and unexpectedly harmonious. You code differently than the main team, Seraphine observed. They follow protocol too rigidly. You improvise, experiment, adapt. That's what these drones need. Jax chuckled nervously. I guess I just try things that make sense to me. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Mostly it works, she corrected, her voice firm but encouraging. And that's rare. As the night progressed, the city outside Jax's window continued its constant hum. Anti-grav vehicles streaked by, holographic billboards shifted through advertisements, and drones patrolled the skies. But inside the apartment, time seemed to slow. The two of them were immersed in code, simulations, and ideas that could redefine the company's approach to orbital defense. At one point, Seraphine paused, glancing at a section of code that Jax had been tweaking for hours. You've made a subtle optimization here, she said. It reduces computation load significantly. Jax smiled. Yeah. I noticed it was slowing down the simulation before, so I adjusted the way it calculates the vectors. I wasn't sure it would help. It does, she said. And it might even save the company millions in processing costs. This is impressive work, Jax. You should present this to the board. Jax felt a mix of disbelief and pride. Present. Me? Yes, Seraphine said firmly. You've created something the main team hasn't thought of. It's valuable. Don't underestimate it or yourself. Her words settled over him like a warm light, dispelling the nervous tension that had dominated the evening. He realized that, for the first time, someone at the top genuinely valued his ideas, not because of flattery, not because of charm, but because they worked and made a difference. You know, Seraphine said, leaning back in the small chair she had pulled up to his desk. It's funny how this started. Jax froze. The message? She nodded, her expression almost teasing. Yes. One flirty mistake. And here we are. Collaborating. Innovating. Who knew a small accident could lead to such productive chaos? Jax laughed, a mixture of relief and amusement. I thought I was about to get fired. You would not have been, she said, but you would have been much more nervous. They both chuckled. The tension that had gripped Jax all evening slowly melted away, replaced by a newfound sense of purpose and connection. He realized that sometimes mistakes were not disasters, they were opportunities disguised as chaos. As the night deepened, they continued refining the system. Jax suggested a new algorithm for predictive positioning, while Seraphine offered strategic insights based on her extensive experience with orbital management. They challenged each other, debated, and laughed at the occasional misstep. Hours passed, and the first light of dawn began to glow over Neo-Atlanta. The city's skyline, bathed in soft morning colors, contrasted with the neon chaos of the night. Jax leaned back in his chair, exhausted but exhilarated. The simulation ran smoothly now, drones reacting to satellite shifts faster than ever before, systems optimized, and the verification layer fully integrated. Seraphine finally stood, stretching lightly. This is excellent work, Jax, she said. You've taken something ordinary and turned it into something extraordinary. I'm impressed. Thank you. Jax said quietly, still processing the whirlwind of the night. I never imagined this could happen. Neither did I, she admitted, smiling faintly. Sometimes, human ingenuity surprises even me. Jax felt a swell of pride. Not because of praise, but because he had proven to himself that he could think creatively, work under pressure, and contribute something meaningful. The message that had started as a flirty mistake had led to an opportunity for growth, learning, and collaboration, unlike anything he had ever experienced. Seraphine glanced at the holographic display one last time. Rest for a bit. We'll present this to the board tomorrow. Your ideas deserve to be recognized properly. Jax nodded, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He watched as Seraphine left his apartment, stepping onto her sleek speeder and vanishing into the neon-lit morning sky. He sank back into his chair, staring at the simulation. His mind was buzzing with thoughts. Not just about the code, but about the night, the unexpected collaboration, and the human ingenuity that had turned a mistake into an opportunity. For the first time in a long time, Jax felt confident. Confident in his skills, confident in his ideas, and confident that sometimes, even the smallest accidents could lead to the most remarkable outcomes. And as the city woke up around him, Jax realized that human creativity, courage, and adaptability were still powerful forces, even in a world dominated by advanced technology. He smiled to himself, ready for whatever challenges awaited next. The next morning, Neo-Atlanta's skyline glimmered under a pale blue sun, the city slowly stirring to life. Anti-grav vehicles hummed across the streets, while holographic billboards shifted through vibrant advertisements. In his small apartment, Jax Mercer sat at his workstation, still energized from the previous night's work. The simulation for the orbital drones ran smoothly, a glowing testament to his and Seraphine Kale's unexpected collaboration. Jax sipped his synthetic coffee, reflecting on the previous night. He still could not believe that a misdirected message had led to such an incredible opportunity. The flustered panic he had felt seemed distant now, replaced by a sense of purpose and excitement. But he also knew that the work was only beginning. A soft chime on his neural pad interrupted his thoughts. He frowned, unsure whether it was a system alert or a personal message. Carefully, he glanced at the screen. Seraphine Kale. Meet me at the orbital lab. There's someone I want you to meet. Jax's heart skipped a beat. Orbital lab? Board presentations? Someone to meet? He tried to steady his breathing. This was no longer just a small collaboration in his apartment. This was serious, professional, important. He quickly showered, dressed in a neat shirt and pants, and reviewed the simulation one last time. As he exited his apartment, he could feel the city's energy pressing in around him. The streets were alive with commuters, street performers using holographic projections, and delivery drones buzzing above. Yet, despite the chaos outside, his mind was focused entirely on the lab and what awaited him. The ride to the orbital lab was quick. Seraphine's speeder moved with a smooth hum, weaving through the early morning traffic effortlessly. She remained silent during the ride, but Jax could sense her presence like a steady current beside him. Calm, controlled, and commanding. He tried to think of what he could say, but words seemed inadequate. When they arrived, the lab towered above them, a glass and steel monolith with docking bays for orbital drones and advanced research modules. Jax had been here many times as part of his work, but today it felt different. Today, he was stepping into a space not just as a junior engineer, but as someone whose ideas might influence the company's direction. Seraphine led him through the labyrinthine corridors, her steps confident and precise. They passed teams of engineers and programmers, each absorbed in their work, casting curious glances at the CEO and the junior engineer walking together. Jax felt a mixture of pride and nerves. People here had no idea that he had contributed to a potentially groundbreaking improvement in the orbital drones. Finally, they arrived at a spacious meeting room filled with holographic displays and seating for the board. A figure stood near the main display, waiting. As they approached, Jax's eyes widened in recognition. Dr. Elias Tanor, Seraphine introduced. Head of AI Systems. Jax, this is someone whose expertise will help evaluate your work. Elias was tall, with sharp features and a calm but intense gaze. He had the air of someone who understood both technology and strategy at a level few could match. Jax felt a pang of intimidation. He had never met anyone so accomplished in person, and now he was expected to present his ideas to them. Seraphine gestured toward the display. We've been reviewing the orbital drone systems. Jax made some significant optimizations last night, and I wanted you to see them firsthand. Jax swallowed hard but straightened his back. I'd be happy to demonstrate, he said, keeping his voice steady. He moved to the display and activated the simulation. Lines of code and neon holograms filled the room, showing drones adjusting their positions in response to simulated satellite shifts. Jax explained the improvements he and Seraphine had implemented. The dynamic recalibration, the verification layer, and the predictive algorithms that allowed the drones to adapt in real time. Elias watched silently, his eyes scanning every detail. Jax felt the tension in the room rise with every second. Finally, Elias spoke, his voice calm but measured. Your approach is unconventional, he said. Most engineers stick to linear problem-solving. You've introduced adaptability and efficiency in a way that could significantly improve the drone's performance. Impressive. Jax blinked. Thank you. It was guided by Dr. Kale's insights as well. Seraphine gave a small nod, her expression approving. He's been instrumental in applying theoretical improvements to real-world simulations. Elias's gaze shifted to Jax, studying him. You have talent, Jax. Not just in coding, but in understanding systems at a conceptual level. That's rare. Jax's heart raced. Recognition from Seraphine was one thing, but validation from someone like Elias Tanor felt monumental. He felt a surge of confidence and realized that his nervousness was slowly transforming into determination. Seraphine leaned slightly closer. Elias, I want you to consider incorporating these improvements into the next orbital deployment. Jax has worked exceptionally well under pressure, and his ideas could save millions of credits while improving efficiency. Elias nodded. I'll review the simulations thoroughly, but initial impressions are positive. You might be onto something significant here, Jax. The meeting shifted as Elias began asking technical questions, probing the algorithms, testing the limits of Jax's logic. Jax answered carefully but confidently, showing not just what he had implemented, but why each decision made sense. He could feel Seraphine's quiet support beside him, occasionally offering subtle guidance without taking control. By the end of the session, the tension in the room had transformed into mutual respect. The board members and engineers around them were impressed not only by the technical improvements, but by Jax's ability to explain and defend his ideas clearly. After the meeting, Seraphine led Jax to a quiet observation deck overlooking the city. The morning sun reflected off the glass towers, casting long shadows across the streets below. Jax exhaled, letting the weight of the morning settle in. "You did well," Seraphine said, her voice calm but sincere. Elias and the board were impressed. "Your ideas are valuable. And more importantly, they're practical." That's rare. Jax felt a mixture of relief and pride. I never expected this," he admitted. "From a misdirected message to this. It's surreal." Seraphine's expression softened slightly. "Sometimes mistakes lead to opportunities. You just have to recognize them and act. And you did." Jax thought about the previous night, about the panic and embarrassment he had felt when the flirty message accidentally went to Seraphine. That fear had seemed insurmountable at the time. But now, it felt like a distant memory. He realized that human creativity, courage, and adaptability had carried him through a reminder that mistakes didn't define failure. They defined potential. "You know," Seraphine continued, her eyes scanning the city below, "our world relies heavily on technology, on AI, on simulations. But what really drives progress is human ingenuity, creativity, curiosity, and courage. You've shown all of these, Jax, and that's why you're standing here. Not in fear, but as a contributor to something larger." Jax felt a warmth spread through him. He had always admired human potential in theory, but experiencing it firsthand through his own actions and recognition was different. He felt energized, inspired, and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they returned to the lab, Jax noticed small changes in how people interacted with him. Colleagues who had once treated him as just another junior engineer now looked at him with curiosity and respect. He realized that his confidence was growing, and it was contagious. People responded not only to skill but to the quiet assurance that came from knowing you had contributed meaningfully. By the afternoon, the lab was buzzing with activity. Teams began discussing how to integrate Jax's improvements into the main drone deployment schedule. Seraphine oversaw the coordination with quiet precision, while Jax worked alongside the engineers, demonstrating the code, explaining adjustments, and troubleshooting issues. Hours later, when the work was done for the day, Jax returned to his small apartment. He sat by the window, looking at the neon-lit city as evening fell. The events of the day replayed in his mind. The panic, the collaboration, the validation, and the realization of human ingenuity at work. He smiled to himself. Mistakes, he thought, were not the end, they were often the beginning. And human creativity, adaptability, and courage could turn even the most embarrassing accidents into opportunities for growth and success. Jax leaned back in his chair, watching the city lights flicker. The orbital drones were now optimized, the board impressed, and his confidence stronger than ever. And somewhere deep down, he knew that this was only the start of an even greater journey. A journey where his ideas, courage, and ingenuity would continue to shape the future. The next few days were a whirlwind for Jax Mercer. The orbital lab had become a place of constant activity. The hum of anti-grav engines, drone simulations, and holographic displays filling every corner. He moved through the corridors with a mix of awe and determination. For the first time in his career, his ideas were being taken seriously. But with recognition came responsibility, and Jax could feel the weight of expectations pressing on him. Seraphine Kale, as always, was a constant presence, precise, calm, and unyielding. Yet she had begun to trust him, giving him more freedom to experiment with the drone systems while guiding him when necessary. Together, they worked side by side, perfecting the dynamic recalibration algorithms and verification layers they had started. One afternoon, as Jax adjusted a particularly stubborn segment of code, the lab's central AI system issued an alert. Red lights flickered on the main display. Unauthorized satellite interference detected. Jax frowned. That can't be right. The satellites are on scheduled paths. There shouldn't be interference. Seraphine appeared at his side instantly, her eyes scanning the alert. "Show me the telemetry," she said, her tone calm but commanding. Jax pulled up the data streams, watching the lines of orbiting satellites jitter and wobble unexpectedly. "It looks like someone's manipulating the satellites. Remote signals, external interference. These patterns aren't random." Seraphine's lips pressed into a thin line. "This isn't a minor error. If someone is intentionally interfering with our satellites, it could compromise the orbital drones and, by extension, the safety of the city." Jax's heart raced. He had never faced anything like this before. He thought back to his first panic over a simple misdirected message. This was a problem on an entirely different scale. And yet, the lessons he had learned from that small mistake, the importance of focus, adaptability, and courage, suddenly seemed relevant. "We need to isolate the interference," he said, pulling up layers of code. "I can write a counter-algorithm to filter malicious signals. It'll reroute the drone's responses and prevent system failure." "Olo, Tom." Seraphine nodded. "Do it. I'll coordinate with the security team to trace the source of the signal." The two of them worked in tandem, Jax typing furiously, his fingers flying across the holographic interface, while Seraphine issued commands, monitored system health, and provided strategic insights. Their collaboration was seamless, the combination of human ingenuity and decisive leadership driving them forward. Hours passed, and Jax's counter-algorithm began to take shape. The drones, once jittery and confused, now adjusted smoothly to simulated interference. Jax tested every scenario he could think of. Sudden satellite shifts, simultaneous multiple signals, and unpredictable interference patterns. Each time, the drones adapted, responding almost instinctively to threats. Seraphine leaned over his shoulder. "You've done well. This level of adaptability was missing before. If these algorithms are implemented, our drones will be nearly unstoppable." Jax smiled, though exhaustion weighed heavily on him. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance." "You've proven yourself," she said, her tone softening slightly. "Your creativity, your courage under pressure, these are what make you invaluable." Just as they were catching their breath, the lab's central AI system issued another alert. This one was different. It came with a priority code that only top-level engineers and Seraphine could access. "Satellite anomaly confirmed. Hostile signals detected. Source unknown. Immediate countermeasures required." Jax's stomach dropped. Unknown source? That means someone could be intentionally trying to sabotage the city's defenses. Seraphine's expression remained calm, but her eyes narrowed. "Exactly. We need to act fast. Jax, I want you to implement your adaptive system across all active drones immediately. We can't risk waiting for the main deployment schedule." Jax nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. The responsibility was enormous, but he had learned to trust his skills. He dove into the code, modifying the algorithms to work on a city-wide scale. The holographic displays shifted, showing hundreds of drones in simulated flight paths, adjusting dynamically to the interference. Hours turned into the late evening, and the city outside seemed oblivious to the tension in the lab. Hovercars zipped past, drones patrolled the skies, and neon lights flickered across the glass towers. But inside, Jax and Seraphine worked tirelessly, their focus unbroken. At one point, Jax paused, rubbing his eyes. This is bigger than anything I've ever handled. What if it fails?" Seraphine placed a hand on his shoulder. "It won't fail. You've prepared for every possibility. Trust your instincts, trust your work." Her confidence was contagious. Jax returned to his terminal with renewed determination. He integrated fail-safes, adaptive protocols, and redundancy layers, ensuring that even if a satellite went completely offline, the drones would continue functioning without interruption. By midnight, the system was ready. Jax ran the final simulation, holding his breath as the drones encountered multiple interference patterns. One by one, the anomalies were detected and corrected. The drones maintained stable flight, adjusted their paths, and protected simulated city sectors flawlessly. Seraphine's eyes softened as she observed the results. "You've done it, Jax. This system can handle the interference and protect the city." Jax exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and pride. "We did it," he said, realizing that their collaboration had achieved something extraordinary. But there was no time to celebrate. The lab's security monitors began tracking the source of the interference. A red dot appeared on the map, moving rapidly across orbital paths. "Someone's still out there," Seraphine said, her voice steady but serious. "And they're testing the system. We need to respond." Jax felt a surge of adrenaline. This was no longer theoretical, it was real. He realized that human ingenuity, combined with courage and quick thinking, was the key to facing such challenges. He and Seraphine quickly devised a counter-strategy. Drones would form adaptive formations, intercept the malicious signals, and isolate the rogue satellite. As the first drones reached the anomaly, Jax monitored every movement. The simulation was flawless, each drone responding perfectly to the interference. He felt a thrill of satisfaction. This was what he had been preparing for, what his creativity and courage had been building toward. Seraphine's voice cut through his focus. "Jax, we need a secondary plan. If they try to override the system, we need a failsafe." Jax nodded, his mind racing. "I can reroute command signals through encrypted channels. That way, even if someone tries to hack the drones, we maintain control." They implemented the secondary plan quickly. Within minutes, the drones stabilized, forming a defensive perimeter around the rogue satellite. The interference signals were neutralized, and the orbital system returned to normal. Seraphine leaned back, her eyes meeting Jax's. "You did exceptionally well," she said. "Your ideas, your courage, and your adaptability, these are what saved the system tonight." Jax felt a mixture of exhaustion and pride. He had faced an unprecedented challenge, and with Seraphine's guidance, had succeeded. He realized that human ingenuity, creativity, and determination were powerful forces capable of overcoming even the most sophisticated technological threats. As the city outside began to quiet down for the night, Jax sat at his terminal, reflecting on the events. He thought about how a simple mistake, a misdirected message, had led him to work alongside Seraphine, to face a real challenge, and to prove his skills in a way he had never imagined. He smiled to himself, realizing that human potential was limitless when combined with courage, creativity, and collaboration. And as the orbital drones returned to their regular patrols, stable and reliable, Jax felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced fear, embraced opportunity, and contributed to the safety of an entire city. Seraphine finally stood, stretching slightly. "Rest now, Jax. You've earned it. Tomorrow, we refine the system further and ensure these measures are permanent." Jax nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. As he prepared to leave the lab, he glanced out at the city, the neon lights shimmering in the evening air. He knew that challenges would continue to arise, but now he felt ready to face them. The events of the past few days had taught him a powerful lesson. Human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were more important than fear or mistakes. And as he walked back to his apartment, Jax felt ready for whatever the future might hold, confident that he could turn even accidents into opportunities, challenges into triumphs, and ideas into reality. The morning sun bathed Neo Atlanta in a soft, golden glow. Hovercars zipped through the skyways, drones patrolled the city, and holographic billboards flickered advertisements for the latest technology. From the observation deck of the orbital lab, Jax Mercer watched the city wake up, his thoughts racing. The events of the past week had been a whirlwind. From a misdirected message to late-night collaboration, from professional recognition to real-world challenges that tested his creativity and courage. Today was different. Today, the results of their work would be presented to the City Council and the Board of Celestia Works. Jax felt a mixture of excitement, pride, and nervous anticipation. His hands hovered over the neural pad, checking the final simulations one last time. The orbital drones were stable, adaptive, and ready to handle any interference or anomaly. Seraphine Kale appeared beside him, her presence calm and commanding. She had been a constant guide, mentor, and partner throughout the process. "Ready, Jax?" she asked. Jax nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." "Remember," she said, her eyes scanning the city below, "confidence and clarity matter as much as the work itself. Show them what human ingenuity can achieve." They moved to the main presentation hall. The council members and board executives were already seated, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. As Jax activated the simulation, holographic projections filled the room, showing the orbital drones patrolling city sectors, dynamically adapting to satellite shifts, and neutralizing interference signals in real time. Jax took a deep breath and began explaining the system. He detailed the dynamic recalibration algorithms, the verification layers, and the adaptive protocols. He spoke clearly, confidently, and with precision, showing not only how the system worked, but why it mattered. The room was silent at first. Then, as the drones responded flawlessly to simulated anomalies, murmurs of approval spread. Council members leaned forward, eyes fixed on the projections, while board executives exchanged impressed glances. Seraphine watched quietly, her gaze steady, giving Jax the space to shine. She knew that this was not just about technology, it was about recognizing human potential and creativity. "Your work is remarkable," one council member finally said. "This system could redefine how we protect Neo-Atlanta from orbital threats." Another executive added, "The level of adaptability and resilience is unprecedented." It's clear that this was not developed by following standard protocols alone. Exceptional creativity and skill are at work here. Jax felt a rush of pride. The recognition was not for a mistake or luck, it was for his ideas, his problem-solving, and his courage to take risks. He realized that human ingenuity was more powerful than he had ever imagined. Seraphine finally spoke, her voice calm but commanding. "Jax Mercer has demonstrated that creativity, courage, and adaptability are essential to progress. This system is a testament to what humans can achieve when we think beyond limitations and embrace innovation." The room erupted in applause. Jax's heart raced, a mixture of relief and exhilaration. He had not only succeeded in presenting his work, but had also shown that human potential could overcome even the most complex challenges. After the presentation, the board and council members approached him, asking questions, offering praise, and discussing next steps for implementation. Jax realized that this was more than a career milestone, it was a moment that could shape the future of the city. Later, as the hall emptied, Jax and Seraphine returned to the observation deck. The city below shimmered with energy, a living testament to human innovation and resilience. "You did exceptionally well," Seraphine said, "not just because of your technical skills, but because of your courage, creativity, and ability to adapt under pressure. That's what makes humans remarkable." Jax smiled. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance. I never expected any of this to happen. It all started with a simple mistake." Seraphine's eyes softened slightly. "Sometimes mistakes are the beginning of something greater. The important thing is how we respond, learn, and grow. You've done that brilliantly." Jax leaned against the railing, looking at the city below. He thought about the past week, the accidental message, the late-night collaboration, the challenges with the rogue satellite interference, and realized that every moment had shaped him, strengthened him, and proved the power of human ingenuity. This feels different," he said quietly. "I've learned that mistakes don't define failure. They can lead to opportunities, growth, and even breakthroughs." Seraphine nodded. "Exactly. And this is just the beginning. There will always be new challenges, new problems to solve, and new opportunities to innovate. But now, you know that you're capable of rising to meet them. Jax felt a sense of purpose unlike anything he had experienced. He had faced fear, embraced opportunity, and contributed to something that mattered on a citywide scale. He realized that human potential was not limited by mistakes or setbacks. It was defined by creativity, courage, and determination. As the sun rose higher, casting golden light across the city, Jax and Seraphin observed the orbital drones in action. The simulations had become reality, the system operational and effective. Jax felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. He had proven to himself, and to others, that human ingenuity could overcome challenges, innovate beyond expectations, and make a tangible difference. Later that day, Jax returned to his apartment, the city alive with activity around him. He reflected on the journey from a misdirected message to collaboration, from professional validation to real-world challenges. He realized that human ingenuity was the driving force behind progress, capable of turning accidents into opportunities and challenges into triumphs. He opened his neural pad, checking messages from colleagues congratulating him on the successful implementation of the system. He smiled, thinking about the journey, the lessons learned, and the possibilities ahead. Jax realized that life was full of unexpected twists, challenges, and opportunities. What mattered was how humans responded with creativity, courage, and adaptability. And now, he felt ready for whatever lay ahead, confident that he could face any challenge, solve any problem, and contribute to a better future. As night fell, the city glowed beneath him, the orbital drones patrolling silently, a symbol of human ingenuity and vigilance. Jax stood on the balcony of his apartment, looking at the sky, thinking about what lay ahead. He knew there would be more challenges, more interference, and more obstacles, but he also knew that humans had the power to overcome them. He smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment and anticipation. Mistakes, challenges, and unexpected opportunities were all part of the journey. And with creativity, courage, and determination, humans could achieve remarkable things. Jax leaned back, watching the neon-lit cityscape, and thought about the future. The orbital drones were now a testament to human potential, just as his journey had become a testament to resilience and ingenuity. And for the first time, he felt truly ready, not just for the challenges of his job, but for the possibilities of life itself. As he turned off the lights and prepared for rest, Jax realized something profound. Human creativity, courage, and adaptability were the most powerful forces in the universe. They could turn mistakes into opportunities, ideas into reality, and ordinary moments into extraordinary achievements. And with that thought, Jax slept, ready to face the next challenge, the next opportunity, and the next horizon, confident in the power of human potential and ingenuity.